Produced by Podcast Architects.
Welcome back to The Path Forward. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Rick Fernandez. I have a very special guest today. One I've been wanting to get on the show for quite some time since I met him in Austin. This is our board president of Talis, as well as the superintendent from Ysleta, the district.
Yes, sir.
The district.
Yes, sir.
The X-Man himself, Xavier De La Torre. Welcome to the show.
Fantastic. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Tell me what's happening in Ysleta. What's the good news? Share some.
Ysleta is, it has recovered. It has rebounded. There is a renaissance. We saw 20, 25, 28-point drops after the pandemic. In less than 18 months, we have recovered those points. We've got kids back in schools. We've got fantastic teachers and staff, great leadership at all 52 schools, and recently received a Texas Education Agency A rating, the only school district in El Paso to receive such a rating. So we celebrated for a little while.
Right.
And then I reminded everybody that if you don't get an A rating next year, everybody's going to think it was an anomaly. It was an accident. It was statistical.
Right.
It wasn't about what was happening in the four corners of the classroom, and we're about what's happening in the four corners of the classroom.
So when the news came out from TEA, what was the response from your admin, your teachers, and ultimately your community?
You know, I think they were, they know we have high expectations. I've got the greatest leadership team, my cabinet, all the way down to directors and assistant directors, and we were myopic, almost maniacal about focusing on academics.
Sure.
Kids had lost so much, and I told them, I said, look, you cannot waste a generation of students and simply say, hey, it's okay because there was a COVID-19 pandemic back in 2020. It's not fair to them.
Right.
So when they come back, you need to give them the same experience that any other student would have received outside of the pandemic. And if that means 120% effort, then that's what we'll do. So I felt like we were going to recover quicker, more efficiently than what Commissioner Morath had said to me. So I'd met with Commissioner Morath, and he had asked me, and I like Mike Morath, very, very intelligent man. He says to me, so how long do you think it will take for Ysleta to get back to pre-pandemic levels? And I told him, I would guess a year, maybe 2 years.
Right.
He said, no, sir. He said, let me tell you something. There was a teacher strike in Brazil back in the 80s, and they lost an entire generation of students who never came back.
Right.
They made some progress in language, but the math was never there. And I said, we're the district. We're different. And that's what I sort of impressed upon, 3,600 teachers,
Sure.
37,000 students. And I said, be different.
So how much of it is, when you hear people betting against you and your teachers, how much of it just fuels you to I know what everybody's saying, but here's what we're going to do.
Right. So background, played college baseball, played college football, have always felt like life is about showing up and competing.
Right.
Whether it's at the job, whether it's in your personal relationship, whether it's being a father, it's about showing up and competing. And so when someone suggests or implies that you can't recover this quick, that's all I need to do nothing but focus on not only recovering as quick as what we're talking about, but exceeding your expectations. That's true with me and my school board. That's true with my cabinet. When you put a goal out there, a target out there,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I think about. And I think if you have a leadership team that is got the same DNA, the same leadership profile that you have, you can do it.
Right.
And we've done it over and over and over. I passed 2 school bonds, the first in 2015 for $430 million, and then 4 years later, I passed another one for $425 million. So in our school district of 37,400 students, the community, the students, have benefited from $860 million
Wow.
worth of upgrades to what was once a very tired, weary old school district where you had 67 schools. You only needed 50 schools to accommodate those students, but you were still operating them. And we went to work. So you get the resources, you close, you consolidate schools. As of today, we have 52 schools, but they're all full. We're being very efficient, very effective in the classroom. So I think the Ysleta Independent School District, the Board of Trustees, our leadership, our teachers, I think we're doing what the majority of America would like to see their school districts do.
Very nice. So I like to bring in innovation, business, and industry. I love CTE. Is there anything that you feel like is on the cutting edge for your kids, or even something that maybe you've teased out a little bit coming down the pike that you can share? Any innovation that you're really excited about?
Yeah, we just started construction on the new Riverside High School Career Tech Ed Center.
Nice.
And it's an entire campus available to all students in the district, dedicated exclusively to CTE.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
So what we got cybersecurity, we have aerospace, we've got welding, we've got all of the professions that are emerging, where one of our students, if they pursue that program at the Career Tech Ed Center, which, by the way, is half of their day, the other half of their day is still...
So you're still giving the ability to go, if they want to play football, if they want to be in the band, right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Athletics, co-curricular, extracurricular, the reading, the writing, the mathematics, you got to get that.
Sure.
But you may not want to go to college. You may want to do something exciting, hands-on, underwater diving, you name it. This Career Tech Ed Center, state-of-the-art, $48 million, is designed to take students who are bright, who are ambitious, but who simply want to go to work tomorrow.
Right.
I want my diploma on Friday, and on Monday I want to show up for work, and I want to do something that is fulfilling and rewarding, whether it's welding, whether it's we have an architecture, an engineering program, a cybersecurity program, an HVAC program. We've got a rocketry and aerospace dynamic program. We've got programs that are designed to allow you to transition into these the fields,
Sure.
the work that is prevalent in the next 10 years, right?
Absolutely.
And then part of that program is I get to expose them to the work. So I send them down and they work in an architect's office in downtown El Paso. They work in an engineer's office. They work at Marathon Oil, welding, and they get to experience
What it is.
what it is.
Yeah, what the career really is
Right.
about.
I know it sounds cool and you get paid and everything's great, but you really probably need to feel it.
Yes.
You need to feel it, because being a welder, it sounds great and the money's great, but do you know what kind of toll it will take on your body?
Right.
So you need to go down there and feel it for a day. Most of them come back and they're still excited. Some of them say, you know what? I'm going to be an engineer. I don't think I need to weld.
But you know what? That's a great service to not only the students, but the community, right? Because the quicker we know what we're going to love and what we're not, that is, hell, I waited till I got out of college before I knew what I wanted to do. And as sooner a kid can learn that, the quicker they can go find their real passion.
That's
so
right.
I commend you guys. That's really awesome.
That's right.
So last question, and I'll cut you loose. Why do you do this? And I'll just frame it, right? There's a lot of the political unrest, the financial unrest, COVID. Why continue to do this work?
Easiest answer to the easiest question I've ever been asked. So my father and my mother migrated from Guadalajara, Jalisco in Mexico, and they ended up about 38 miles south of the Oregon border in Northern California. Dad worked in a lumber mill. Mother worked as a teacher's aide, and nothing was more important to them than their children, but more importantly, that they get what was at the time in the 1970s, early 70s, late 60s, the best public school system on the planet.
Wow.
Right? Dad didn't speak English. Mom didn't speak English. They went to work. They were taken advantage of. And I didn't know it at the time.
Sure.
But when I look back at it and I think to myself, damn, my dad worked a green chain from the time he was 22, 23 years old until he was almost 42 years old. Come on. There's got to be some advancement over 20 years, right? And then eventually he became a millwright. But I do this because I'm doing exactly what I think God wanted me to do. My brother Felix, he is 11 months younger than I am. He is an attorney. He used to be Governor Brown's in-house counsel.
Okay.
My brother Aldo is the CEO and president of 9 hospitals in California. And my sister is a certified public accountant and a comptroller for a large development company. And we are all the products of the guy with the 3rd grade education,
Right.
who's still monolingual, Spanish primarily. A great mom who worked her tail off and basically raised us. Because one of the things my dad did was, my dad always volunteered for the graveyard shift. Graveyard shift starts at 11, it ends at 7. I said, well, why didn't you ask to get off the graveyard shift? He said, no. He said, because I knew that more than likely every day somebody wasn't going to show up to work for the morning shift, and I'd volunteer, so I'd get a double. And I thought, yeah, but you must have been tired.
Exhausted.
And he said, yeah, I was. He said, I'd get home at 4:30, and I knew I'd go back at 11. I'd grab something to eat. I'd take like a 3-hour nap. I'd go hit it again. And if I were lucky, think about someone saying that. And if I'm lucky, tomorrow morning, one of those young fellas that got the day shift are going to have too many beers, and they're not going to show up, and I'm going to be right there.
Right.
So the reality of it was, the good and the bad of it was, that my mother raised all of us, because my father was not absent, not distant, not dismissive. He was putting in the work.
Right.
And so when it came time for all of us to go to college, I'm the oldest, no student loans, not allowed in the household, right? I'm paying for this. You have one job. Don't you let me down. You go to the California State University, Chico, or you go to California State University, Davis, or one of my brothers went to the University of Southern California, USC. I'm paying, but don't you let me down. So then when you go and you realize the hours and the work. So I told you I played football and baseball. I can count on one hand the number of times that I ever looked up into the stands and saw my dad. He'd hear about it at work, and he would tell me, like at breakfast the next day if he showed up, or at dinner later, he'd say, hey, I heard you had a good game. Good job, son. Didn't get overexcited about it. Wasn't dismissive or disrespectful about it. It was like, I'm doing my thing. You're doing your thing. I'm more interested in where you're going to school.
Right.
And it worked out. And as a family, I think we are the American dream. We're probably what a lot of those people that are currently trying to cross the border, that's all they want.
Are hoping for.
Yeah, give us a shot.
Yep.
Give us a shot. If you give us a shot, we work harder than most people. We sacrifice more than most people. If you allow us the opportunity, we will not be a burden on your economy or on your citizens.
Absolutely.
But it's a tough one.
Yeah.
You know,
No doubt.
The 70s and 80s were very different than they are today.
There's no doubt about that, especially politically.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, last question.
Yes, sir.
So I'm a comic book nerd. Tell me that you guys, when y'all have a theme day, there's some kind of X-Men involved with the dress up, and if not, you've got to. Yes, you've had. Yeah.
She builds X into everything.
Yes. All right.
You know,
I gotta.
Solve for X. Excellence with an X.
Okay.
And she's not my ex, but we try, and we've got a great climate and a culture. I've been there almost 10 years.
Yes, sir.
And the one thing I will say that is detrimental to school districts is when you either rotate superintendents so frequently and board members so frequently, nobody ever gets on the kind of
continuity,
the same vibe.
Yeah.
But with my board, myself, my staff, we are on the same vibe, and I hope to retire about 5 years from now, 65 years old. I'm already 60, and I used to have beautiful dark hair like you.
You've got beautiful silver hair now.
Silver.
Like an X-Man.
Silver's kind of kind. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I want, as I said when we started, I've wanted to have you on the show.
Anytime.
I've admired you for quite some time. Just never had an opportunity to interact, and much success. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
And your students. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. God bless you. Best always.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Produced by Podcast Architects.